Aloha, welcome to Jordan's Journal. We're going to be in our second show, revisiting with Wai Ola o Waianae. I'm Representative Joe Jordan, and I have my guests here today, Pake Salmon. She's a coordinator for communication with Wai Ola o Waianae. And Rich Medeiros, he is a task force coordinator with Wai Ola o Waianae.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome. Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for coming back for the second phase.
Yeah.
In this show, I guess we're going to talk more about Wai Ola o Waianae after we've received this level 2 grant, just in the beginning, where we're going to go with it, and then what is Wai Ola o Waianae's mission, and how are we going to go forward in our community on the educational component. So we're going to toss it out there. How'd you like to start? Rich?
Well, we started, we did a hiring process in October, and next thing we knew, we're freezing cold in Denver.
Oh.
Learning all about the EPA, getting like a little boot camp for that, and then back in Hawaii and starting community meetings already. We did one last night, we're doing another one tonight. We're just trying to find out what the community thinks the concerns are and where the community thinks we should be going with this. The advantage is that all of us are from Waianae.
Yeah.
So, you know, we already have a good feel for the community. But what I've personally seen is that I didn't realize the problem was as bad as it was until I started looking for it.
Wow.
You know, when we drive by every morning when I'm driving to work, I don't see all of this because I'm looking at the road. And when you find out that, you know, if you just stop, park on the side of the street, get out, and just look around, you'll see all kinds of trash, all kinds of pollution. And it's not just small things either. You know, we're finding mattresses, grocery carts, dead animals. And these are right at the bottom of the streams where anybody walking by can see.
Wow.
And this is a huge problem that, you know, it's much bigger than people believe it to be. And Pake can elaborate on that because she takes pictures of everything for us.
Yeah. So Wai Ola o Waianae got this grant,
Yes.
and the focus actually whittled down to
Illegal dumping. Illegal dumping and non-point source pollution. So like we said in the first segment that, you know, it's community driven. There was a bunch of different issues, but the community chose to focus on illegal dumping and non-point source pollution, stopping it. Because, you know, we have X amount of money, and what realistically can we do with X amount of money, and what issue can we really try and tackle?
And the focus was on what? Waterways?
Was on streams and the coast.
And the coastal.
The coastline, yeah.
Coastline. Oh, okay, okay. So when we're talking about these areas, that's what your focus is, right? You know, if we've got illegal dumping near or at these areas, and how it gets from point A down to the ocean mouth, right?
Yes, really our in the beginning our focus was the streams and the coastlines, but now, I mean, like, let's look at the Waianae Moku. We're pretty much like wherever illegal dumping is, and if we see it, you know, that's the problem. We need to change behaviors throughout the whole state regarding our community, because our community shutters a disproportionate amount of environmental burden.
Yes,
so,
that's correct.
We educate everybody, not just, well, Waianae really needs the education, and like everybody else, because you know what, there's commercial businesses that will come to Waianae to dump. And you know, legally too, there's commercial businesses who come to Waianae to dump.
Yes.
And you know, we want to stop the illegal ones.
Okay. So, and that's, I guess, that's where the focus is, right? On how to educate not only the Moku, the Waianae Coast, but outside of Waianae.
Well, we're gonna, okay, so we're having a series of meetings started from last night and then tonight, so we're asking the community what they would want. So we have a lot of organizations already who are doing beach cleanups, et cetera. And what we don't really have is an educational component, like all of these organizations. So, you know, we're asking the community, what does it look like? What can we do? And so tonight when we go back to our meeting, then, you know, we get more community input, and then we'll have the opportunity to work with Debbie and, you know, figure out our work plan, our action plan.
Oh, Debbie meaning the EPA?
Yes, Debbie, Debbie Liang from the EPA, who's just here.
Okay. So, taking all this, I mean, educational can mean school kids, can mean community organizations, It could be civic groups. It can be
Rotary clubs.
Rotary clubs. It can be
anybody we find.
Anybody. Oh, okay. Just regular old community neighborhoods, right?
Yes.
That's what we're talking about. Right?
Yes.
And then maybe also businesses, because maybe a business might not understand that something they might be doing for years might not be a proper way of doing a business procedure, right? Oh, okay. I'm kind of getting it here. I mean, we have been disproportionately given multiple businesses that have, you know, environmental issues. And then because of some of the challenges of how to dispose of their waste material, some businesses choose to dispose of it in communities other than their own, right? I mean, that's kind of what we were saying.
And then also there's like a financial aspect too. Now, like people, if they have a lot of like commercial dumping, illegal commercial dumping. You know, we have PVT and we have landfills to take care of this, but it's a lot cheaper for them to go and dump at the end of the road. Again and again and again, or in somebody's backyard that might not know that that is happening. You know, so you know this is the issue.
Okay, so Wai Ola has already set up different groups, right? Different task force groups. Could you kind of explain some of those task force groups?
We've set up 4 task force groups, 2 for illegal residential dumping, 1 for Nanakuli and 1 for Waianae, 1 for illegal commercial dumping, and then mine, which is for non-point source pollution.
Oh, okay.
So we're looking at a way to, my vision is that we will find a way for all 4 to be together at some point, because we all have the same common goal. But we're trying to split up the work into seeing what the specifics can be done in Nanakuli and Waianae. For mine in particular, non-point source pollution, it's the pollution that we can't tell where it came from. So it's runoff from farms, it's when people dump their oil into the storm drains, when people just throw things randomly into the streams, and you know, when it rains, the water comes down, and we don't know where all of this came from. But it's all making it to our streams, and it's all making it into the ocean eventually. So we're trying to create an educational aspect to where we inform these people that, you know, this is what really happens. Bad things happen to communities that do this. We, in our first meeting back from Denver, we had a young man come and join us. I would assume he's 7th or 8th grade, and several years ago he got staph infection at Pokai Bay, and his foot is just, it doesn't really look like a foot anymore. It's one of those things that when you see this happening to a child, you can imagine it happening to every single child in Waianae, and it's something that we can't allow to happen. It's life-threatening. The boy almost died from this, and there's no way that medicine can reverse what's already happened to him. So he has to live with that the rest of his life.
So I mean, people don't correlate, you know, that if I put this over here and it doesn't rain, and then when the rains come months later, it could wash to the near shores and then mix with the natural environment and cause reactions where somebody could get hurt. And that's kind of what happened with this young man. He probably had an open cut and created staph, and
he actually got cut at Pokai Bay on the reef. And then from there being cut in that, you know, maybe he was in there after a big rain, and then all those chemicals and pollutants, and then, you know, got that cut, and then he has this.
And he has now he has a deformity for the rest of his life.
He can't even play sports or anything like that. It's like pretty sad.
His whole life has changed.
People don't. I guess people don't really correlate that. You know, you can get sick. I mean, we've all seen. I mean, I've seen. I go to the beach after a rain, and it's chocolate out there. I mean, that's when you look at it and you think, oh, that's just the runoff, meaning the dirt. When yes, that is. But there's stuff mixed in there.
Toxins.
You know, which is, and that's what's considered non-point source pollution. So that could happen. We could have something up in one of the valleys and one of the streamways that somebody
it can
deliberately
be miles up
or
there, and then it'll make its way down to the ocean eventually.
And then that comes down with everything else. I mean, they always tell us don't go in the water after it rains because predators come, sharks, right? But we got to worry about the predators that kind of roll down.
All the
from
bacteria and the
streams
toxins that are coming down.
So these are the things that make us deathly sick, right?
Yes, deathly
sick. And I think that's so important where your task force is to kind of focus on where are these things coming from?
Yes.
Is it something?
Well, our first job that we're trying to do is we're trying to map the streams.
Oh, okay.
We're using a geomapping technique from one of my coworkers at the Pacific American Foundation who does it as a hobby, actually.
Wow.
You know, so we're lucky that we had somebody that knows how to do this already. And we're going to try to do 2 phases of mapping. We're going to try to do a geomap going all the way up, and then we're going to try to do a visual assessment map. So we're going to try to hike the streams. And it's not something that we can do right now because the unique thing about our streams is half the year they're dry and half the year they're wet.
Yeah.
We're approaching the time where they're going to be wet.
Yeah.
So, you know, we're approaching the time where we can take water samples because we couldn't do that previously. But we're also approaching the time where it's not as safe to go into them and see what's actually there physically. So that's another reason why it's difficult. When I was working with the local EPA, they're saying our streams are polluted, but it's hard to get attention to them because half the year there's no water in them.
Oh.
And if you don't have water in it, you're not going to get the attention of a lot of people. But once the water comes, you know how Waianae is. When the water comes, it floods.
Yeah.
And then all of these animal carcasses, all this bacteria, all this paint, oil, and stuff is just not only making it into the roads, but it's also going to overflow into people's yards. People live right next to these streams. And, you know, we need to figure out a way to prevent that. So it's not just stream cleanups. They're a great idea, but at the same time, they're just a Band-Aid solution. You know, we need to stop it from happening in the first place so that we don't have to do these cleanups in the future, or that if we do end up doing these cleanups, it's just to clean up natural things that would fall in like branches. And, you know,
So that's why it would be important to do the mapping.
Yeah.
Because the mapping could tell you if it's coming from a particular source on a consistent basis, or if it was just a one-time somebody just kind of threw something in there, right?
Yeah.
And that's that. And then you can focus on maybe educating the individuals or the companies that does it on a consistent basis.
Yes, we want to educate before we prosecute, but at some point, the hammer's going to have to come down on these people if they don't change their ways. It's too dangerous a game that they're playing with our children's lives and with our lives in Waianae.
Yeah, because I mean, if we keep this pattern going forward, I mean, eventually it will be so hazardous that you can't go near these areas.
Yeah.
You know, what would that be going forward in our future?
Yeah, and these areas include our beaches. You know, you won't be able to go swimming at all if this continues to happen. Our streams, the stream that I focus on, Kaupuni Stream, empties out into Pake Bay.
Yeah.
That, you know, Pake Bay and Rest Camp is where everybody goes to swim in Waianae.
Yeah, that's correct.
And that's where everybody's getting sick right now. And it's, we believe, to be a direct result of what's happening in that stream. That's making its way down there and it's polluting the waters and that our children swim in.
I mean, that's usually, if it rains heavy, you got to stay away from that area for at least 2 or 3 days until it starts clearing out. But even when the water clears, it's still
There's still
there.
bacteria in there.
The bacteria is still there.
Yeah, it's still dangerous.
Wow. Yeah, that's, I mean, lucky in Hawaii, we really haven't had any areas that have become off limits, but I could see in our future, if we don't change patterns or habits now, that might be a different scenario going down the road.
Yeah, and by future, we're talking 5 years from now. We're not talking, you know, our generation from now. We're talking immediate future. Where
it can become so toxic that you can't even enter the water areas over there.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
So the other component, you guys have the residential and the commercial component of illegal dumping and focusing on those. So you guys have ways of how people can outreach to you and say, hey, I think I see somebody doing this. Is it legal or illegal? Or my neighbor's doing this and I want to tattle on them, you know, or whatever it is. You know? I mean, you guys are open to doing that so we can start figuring out these sources and how we can change the behaviors or change those habits?
Yes, we're open to doing some sort of community-based education and mediation programs so that we can, you know, we can tell people that these things are bad. When we recently participated in the stream cleanup that you organized at Pu'uhulu Stream.
Yes.
And we found chicken coops right next to a chicken farm inside the stream.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, part of me is wondering, should we knock on doors and just say, you know, hey, in the future, can you not do this?
Yeah, because, I mean, we all know if you find one dead chicken in there, you think, okay, maybe he died. But if you find
if you're
50
finding dozens
or dozens, you're like, we know the chicken aren't roosting in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's somebody Just kind of.
And we also found a lot of tires, like over
yeah.
60 tires in that stream.
Yeah.
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 So, you know, this is
It's
unacceptable.
It's definitely.
And I mean, is that residential? Is that commercial
Yeah.
illegal dumping? You know,
A
really what is it?
combination.
Or combination,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, it's just a wrong practice. And, you know, we want the community, we want the community to start taking ownership.
Yeah.
Having responsibility for the place that we love.
That's right.
Work and play.
That's right.
Yeah. And we're going to start asking for your assistance and the government's assistance, because what came up in our informational gathering last night was that maybe it's because the dumps aren't accepting these things.
That's true.
You
Maybe,
know,
yeah.
It's, if the dumps aren't accepting it, what do we do with it? You know, I've run into similar problems with other projects I've worked on where we had something that we needed to throw away and no place on this island accepts it.
Wow.
So it's now just waiting in our storage. Now, other businesses and organizations who aren't as responsible, I could see them just taking it to the side of the road and dumping it at night.
Yeah.
And it comes down to now eventually the dump's gonna have to accept it, because when we do cleanups like this, they take what we have.
Yeah.
But if they just accepted it to begin with, we wouldn't have this problem.
No. And that's, I mean, I sit on a flood mitigation task force because we've had some major flooding in the last 4 or 5 years, and that's what you're seeing. When we have these floodings, it's because the stream is blocked in some form or fashion, but because people might throw illegal stuff. I mean, these are all hand-in-hand issues.
Yeah.
And if somebody is doing some illegal dumping near or in the stream, then you have heavy rains, it overfloods, and now, like you said, somebody's property is now kind of contaminated until all that water subsides.
Yeah.
And then we deem there's no toxic or bacteria. And I mean, that could be weeks.
Yeah.
That could be weeks. And how do we educate people on this? And then how do we change the behaviors? And in our stream cleanup, that's what we've been having meetings probably for about almost a year now. And that's what's coming up also. It's like, well, people are, either they can't have a legal way of disposing of it, they don't know any better, the educational component, and we just need to change it.
Yeah.
We need to get that education out there to say, hey, don't do this. And we're also finding, there's challenges with disposing, because I'll be honest with you, I'm having some challenges with some of the stuff that we recovered in the stream.
Okay.
My 60 tires.
Right.
You know, I find challenges with that because I've since found out that there's only 2 companies on Oahu that accepts them.
So the refuge centers won't accept tires?
Well, the refuge centers will accept tires from an individual, up to 4 tires.
But not large scale.
And vehicle tires, not a semi-truck tire.
Okay, I see.
But if their bin is full, you can't bring them today. And they're only from individuals. So if an individual cleaning group, no, you can't bring more than 4. Only today. So if I found 60, that presents a challenge for me.
Yeah.
So I have to find another way of disposing of them. I can't just go to the 2 companies that take them because they ask for a fee.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're doing this out of the kindness of your heart or volunteering, it's kind of hard to dispose of, you know, and to dispose of a vehicle tire can be anywhere from $3 to $10. If you're disposing of a semi-truck tire, it could be $100. Yeah, so I mean, that's where we're finding these challenges.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing when you find paint, when you find
batteries.
maybe
Old
even chickens,
TVs,
you know, I mean,
yeah.
old TVs.
Yeah,
I mean, these are the kind of things that we're finding, and it's not only about the patterns. You're right. You know, how do we close those loops on disposing of things legally?
Yeah.
And I think that's the common theme you're starting to hear from everything.
Yeah, it's about the convenience of being a good steward of the environment. You know, if it's just inconvenient for me to throw something away, I'm more likely to do it illegally than I am to do it the right way.
You know, I hate to pick on tires, but I mean that's what you'll see.
Yeah.
See, you go down a road and you'll see one every, 50 feet, and you're like, no, I know the neighbors just didn't throw them out.
Yeah.
So you'll have guys driving a truck and somebody riding in the back and throw one out and throw one out and throw one out. I mean, so they know they're doing it purposely.
Oh, in my neighborhood, they do it in broad daylight.
Yeah.
I live on Hakima Road, and, I go up there. The other morning, I saw a truck just driving away, and there's a bunch of tires that were put on the side of the road that weren't there the night before when I got home.
And, or like your paints. I mean, in the earlier show, you said there was some paints at Makua.
Right.
I mean, you and I both know they went past a landfill, they went past a convenience center, and they drive all the way out to Makua to place it nice and pretty on the beach, you know, but there's ways of disposing. The city has a free program where you can dispose of paints.
Yeah.
And it's hot, and the city will tell you that, well, we have we got opala.org. You can go, we have, you know, every quarter we can take it to them. I mean, there's ways of doing it, but I don't know, how do we get that education out there? Or do they just deem, well, it's easier for me to do this because it's got to go away? I mean, I could see what our challenges are going to be, but, you know, we need youth. We need the next generation to say, hey, how are we going to change this going forward?
Yeah.
Right.
Because are we going to leave this for our future generations? I mean, that's just, and like we were saying before we started this, you know, has our community felt so dragged down that it's like, well, I should call because nothing's going to happen, right? So we're seeing that too, right?
Right, that mentality.
How do we change that mindset with people?
Yeah.
That we're here. And I like it. I like what you guys have done. You know, you got local.
Well, one way that we can change things is having people contact us if they want to participate. Or they can go on Facebook and search Wai Ola or Waianae, and then they can get involved. And, you know, we have different levels of involvement. And, you know, like, the day is changing in Waianae. We are very concerned, and there's a whole bunch of people who are very concerned about our community. And, you know, generationally, you know, our voices haven't been heard.
It's true.
But we're coming to a paradigm shift right now where, like, Waianae is on the map, and the community leaders out there are really, like, you know, they're really creating great outreach for us to change our behaviors.
Yes.
So, I mean, like I said, like, if anybody wants to, you know, be on a task force, either in Waianae or Nanakuli, or with him, non-point source pollution or illegal commercial dumping, you know, they can contact one of our task force members, or they can contact me also, and I can, like, you know, route them to the right person. But so, you know, Facebook, Wai Ola's site on Facebook is one of the places that you can access information and, like, contact information.
Yeah, so they can even, like, you know, shoot you off a little email or something, or contact you via there, and then it'll be routed to the right task force. And then I'm sure if people want to remain anonymous, you guys allow anonymity and then if, you know, if it's something that you really need to investigate, you go forward with them and try to educate whoever's doing it. And then get back with the people that might have reported it, so they feel like something's been done.
Right. What I like to do, just as an individual, is just, like, you know, when I see the dumping, I just take a picture and then I'll upload it to the Wai Ola site. You know, because Facebook, let's admit it, everybody's on Facebook, and Waianae is on Facebook. So if we get everybody going to the site, uploading their own pictures, and then, you know, hey, we might, you know what I mean? If it's somebody you know or something, we want to educate them. Like he said, we don't want to
I don't want to prosecute yet.
But we want to educate you. We're going to only educate you one time. And, you know, I don't know. I'm thinking.
We want people to be comfortable enough to come to us to, you know, to honestly say, hey, we've been making this mistake all this time. So can you help us find a way to do it the right way? You know, we don't want people. We don't want people to feel that we're just going to be a task force coming in and just calling the police on every little thing. You know, and just, you know, ruining businesses and livelihood. We're not trying to do that. We want to make sure that everything is safe. First and foremost, the environment has to be safe for everybody. And then, you know, at some point, education's going to stop. You know, I'll be honest with you guys here. At some point, we're not going to be saying, hey, you know, we've been watching you for the past 5 years. You've been doing this. We've warned you about it. You know, at some point, we're going to have to prosecute. But right now, for the immediate future, we want to make sure that everybody has the information needed, that, you know, that this doesn't have to happen, that it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to bring in the feds to just, like, crack the whip on us and not let this, you know.
Really. You don't want...
We want people to be comfortable.
So, I mean, Pake, you're actually right. You know, picture speaks 1,000 words. So, I mean, so if people just take a picture, upload it, So people begin to understand, like Rich was saying, you know, stop your car, get out and really look instead of keep going by and paying attention to the road and you miss what's actually happening. I think if people just take that extra moment to say, wow, it is really, because not everybody gets up into a stream or into a, sometimes I haven't been in the water like a couple months, but I mean, when you don't see it on a day in, day out basis, you think, oh, it's not happening, but it truly is happening. So I guess we're going to run out of time here pretty shortly, so I know you might want to have a few words for the Olelo audience on how they can contact you again and so if they want to reach out and help. So
once again, Facebook is our primary website, our primary contact place. So Facebook, Wai Ola o Waianae. And then we also have, like, I'm the communication coordinator, and my email is, my email is up, and then we have the other task force coordinators also. So whatever district you live in and whatever you feel passionate about as far as the task force is, residential, non-point source pollution, or commercial illegal dumping, wherever you feel moved to go and participate and support, please do so. And then also, like, if you can't be on a task force, which is like maybe a little bit more demanding, and maybe I'm using the wrong word, demanding, but the advisory committee is also a good place that, your voice and input can be heard, and, we can really make a good change for Waianae. We deserve it.
We deserve
Absolutely.
it. Okay, I'd like to thank you, Rich and Pake,
thank you
for another installment. Really, thank you for coming in and filming with me. And I guess that'll be another show for Jordan's Journal. And I'd like to wish everybody mahalo and aloha. See you guys soon.